Welcome! If you're new to my channel, my name's Jan Radu. I'm an Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator and I live in Perth in Western Australia. I have been playing around for a few days with the Berry Blessing stamp set and the Berry Delightful Designer Series paper, which is on promotion at the moment with our celebration promotion. And I've been focusing on using the blending brushes in different ways. So this is my second card of a 3-card series. And I'm just going to take you through the steps on showing you a different way to use your blending brushes and the decorative masks as well. So I'm going to start by creating a overall background by inking a couple of different colors with the blending brush. I'll start just doing an all over sort of light touch with the Granny Apple Green, which was my lighter green, so I'm using 2 shades of green for this particular background. I'm starting off my paper, my Whisper White cardstock, and then I'm coming onto it with a circular motion. You might have the basic white cardstock. I'm still working through my Whisper White stash, and then I'm looking forward to moving on to the new version, which is the basic white. So now I'm bringing in some Mossy Meadow ink, just coming in from the corners. I'm just having a bit of a play here. There's no plan. I just keep building up the colour until I'm happy with the effect. Oh, I think I actually decided to use 3 colours in the end, so I think I will be bringing in Pear Pizzazz. Yep, and just filling in those white spaces with that 3rd green. It's getting quite a mottled effect on the card, and the reason that it's not blending incredibly smoothly is that my blending brush is still a little bit damp. I did wash it out earlier in the morning and had it drying on the windowsill. It's not quite dry. I thought I'd give it a go anyway, and I really liked the mottle effect that I got by using that slightly damp brush. So I'm bringing out some of the white paste, the decorative paste, and bringing in the mask now, trying to decide which layout I want to use. And once I've got it in the right position, I'm just going to tape it down with some painter's tape there. So now I'm just using a spatula to put the paste, the embossing paste, over just a section of the mask. So I'm not covering the whole entire card front, and I'm scraping any excess paste off as I go and just adding it back into the jar. So always make sure you put the lid on and seal that up nice and tight, because it does tend to dry out if you don't have it sealed up. So as you can see, when I peel off the mask, I've got a really nice white. It is white, but it's not totally opaque. You can see the colour through. So here's some of the other sheets of the Berry Delightful Designer Series paper. Gorgeous prints and really bright, vivid colours. So they're free along with the stamp set as a bundle. They come free with a qualifying order during celebration, which ends on the 28th of February. So you've only got a couple more days to place your order for that. Using a Poppy Parade card base, that's just a standard card size, half an A4 cardstock, cut in half, scored at 10.5 centimetres and folded in the middle. I've cut that piece of DSP to 1 inch wide, or 2.5 centimetres, and I'm using the Lovely Labels Picker Punch just to punch off the ends for a decorative finish on there. And just deciding which position that would look best at there. Bringing in the Tasteful Labels dies, trying to figure out which one's going to match the sentiment that I have chosen from the Berry Blessing stamp set. So we're going to use the Bountiful Blessings sentiment here. So I'll mount that up on my clear block. Bring in some white cardstock. I'm just actually burnishing this stamp because I have not stamped with this particular one before, and you'll find if you clean it and just rub it through on your Stampin' Scrub, you will definitely get a better inking with the first go. So we're going to stamp that sentiment in Granny Apple Green. I'm just testing the placement in the die here. And I've decided to put a berry next to the sentiment, so I'm just bringing the Poppy Parade ink and using the berry outline stamp and stamping that down. And next I'm bringing the second stamp, the infill stamp, so the two-step stamping. I'm stamping off so that I don't have as much ink on my stamp, and then stamping down to complete that little berry bunch there. Bringing in the outline of the stem and the leaves, and I'm then going to do the same thing, stamp off with the Mossy Meadow and then stamp the infill stamp, and that gives me that, looks like I've used two different inks, but I'm really just stamping off in between. So now just placing my die on top to get that placement right, and then I'll run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now that I've run it through the machine, I'm just going to use that same technique with the stylus and just trace around the edge of the border. So I've shown this technique in the last video, and I believe it was a lady from the Artisan Design team, Chelsea Christensen, at Creative Chelsea is her Instagram handle, and she shared this technique maybe last week or the week before. It just creates a nice embossed look around the edge of your label. So I'm just stamping another little stem there so that I can cut that off and add that on top with a little bit of dimension. So stamping off there to create that variation in colour with the inks. I'll just fussy cut that little stem out. Little tip when you're fussy cutting is hold your scissors fairly still and just move your cardstock around as you're cutting. You tend to get a much closer cut that way. Just checking that the paste is dry enough for me to work with, and it's nearly there. Got a little bit of red fun foam coming in here, and I'm just going to mark that up so that I can cut it to size, and I'm going to place that underneath my front panel. That'll give me a nice stable feel to the front of my card, and then if I'm mailing it through the post, it's not going to collapse like it can if you just pop dimensionals on there. If you're handing this card to somebody personally, it's not really such a big deal. You can of course put dimensionals, but I really like the solid feel that you get when you're using the fun foam. I use a little bit of glue stick in the middle as well. Probably overkill, but I like the idea that the card's going to arrive intact. So I'm just peeling off the tear and tape there, attaching it first to the card front, and then I'll attach it to my card base. Using a clear block just to push that down and make sure it's all nice and secure. So now I'm just going to assemble the rest of my card. At this point I hadn't decided how to finish off that label, so I just placed it there to see what else it needs, and then I decided to bring in this other piece of DSP. I'm using the stitched shape framelits and just using one of the circles. I think it's the second largest, the second largest circle, and I'll run that through my cut and emboss machine. And that's going to give me that finishing piece that I need for my card. I've got one of the little Ladybug trinkets there that's just going to be that final embellishment. I'm using some double-sided foam tape just to add that strip. And just pop that down onto my card using my grid paper to try and get that as straight as I can. I'm adding foam tape to one side of the circle, and then so that it matches the height of that other strip, I'm just putting a little bit of Tombow adhesive on there, and that will help me line that up evenly. So both pieces, the strip and the circle, have the same height off the card. Another little bit of foam tape there for the last label. It's not too many elements on this card, but they're coming together really nicely. A little bit of tombow just to attach that little leaf and stem. And I'll bring in a glue dot, a mini glue dot, and that's perfectly sized for the little ladybug, and that will keep it nice and secure on my label. And that is the second card in this series of the using the Berry Blessing stamp set, Very Delightful Designer Series paper. I'm just going to add another little embellishment with a couple of sequins from the woven thread sequins. They're just the multicolored sequins that will basically pick up whatever colors you're using in your card. So as I said, this is the second card. I've got one more card to share using similar products, using the blending brushes in a slightly different way, and I hope you can check back and have a look at that third video as well. If you haven't seen the first card in the series, I'll link to it up here, and you can pop on over there and have a look at that design. And there we have it. So thanks very much for joining me. I'd love you to hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channel, and I hope to see you again soon.